So what we have here is a plate from a training vest that's 100% legal to buy in New York State, and it says right down there, warning, it's not body armor, not to be used for body armor. So we're going to see what it actually stops. We're going to start with a 22, all pistol rounds first. 22, 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, 45 ACP, then 357 SIG, and we'll see what happens. All right, 22 out of the Glock conversion by Advantage Arms. We are locked. We are loaded. Let's see. Will the 22 go through? New York legal weighted vest plate, not to be used as body armor. Cannot buy body armor in New York State. Okay, so that's where the 22 hit, and not even a dent. Not even a dent. Let's loosen that up a little bit. Okay. Complete splatter. No dent. No nothing. I'm going to move on to the 9mm. Okay, Matt is going to take care of the 9mm for us whenever you're ready. Defense rounds, right?
Yes.
That looks promising. Let's see where he hit. Let's go take a look at it. All right, let's back out here. That's where the 9mm hit. Just a very small indent there. So the New York legal weighted vest plate will stop a 22, will stop a 9mm. Let's move on to 40 Smith & Wesson. I don't know if I'm doing this in the right order. Should I be doing 45 before 40? Probably, right? Because it's slower. I'm going to run a 155 grain full metal jacket out of a 40 Smith & Wesson. I'm going to see if it stops. All right, where are we here? 40 Smith & Wesson left a pretty decent sized dent, but did not go through. And it left a minimal sized dent on the back. As you can see, let's see what we got here. Very tiny up in the top here. So, there's the 22, nothing but a scratch. 9mm, tiny dent. 40 Smith & Wesson, 155 grain, a little bit more zip band weight on it than a 9. It stopped it. So far, the not for use as body armor plate that comes in the New York legal weighted vests is bulletproof up to a 40 Smith & Wesson so far. Let's go check out 45 ACP. We will be shooting 230 grain full metal jackets at about 850 feet per second. Okay, 45 ACP out of the SIG P320 full metal jacket, 230 grain, 45. Okay, right square in the middle we hit it, and it did not even put a big dent in it at all. It looks like something, but it didn't do much at all, really. Let me back up here. 45. No dent in the back. Tiny little pinprick dent in the front. So far, we've gotten the most out of the 40 Smith & Wesson. But so far, this plate is still bulletproof up to a 45 ACP. The only pistol caliber we have left to test is 357 SIG. That'll be a 124 grain full metal jacket, moving at 1,400 feet per second on the dot. Just try. I mean, this is the most powerful round that we have for pistols right here, 357 SIG. If the 357 SIG does not go through it, we're going to have to shoot it with a 45 long Colt Magnum, which is equivalent to a 44 Magnum. Okay, here we go. 124 grain at 1,400 feet per second, 357 SIG against the New York legal weighted vest plate. Put a fucking giant. Yikes. Oop. Stopped him. It stopped it. Put a nice dent in it. 357 SIG for sure. Put the most hurting on this plate. Try to get the crater here. It's right next to the 45. 45 did nothing. And that 357 SIG made an impression on the back of the plate as well. 40 Smith & Wesson made an impression on the back of the plate, and 357 SIG was close to coming through. 357 SIG did not go through the plate. Again, we have 22, 9mm, 45 ACP, 40 Smith & Wesson, 357 SIG. All right, we're going to have to move it up to the 45 Colt Magnum, which is basically a 44 Magnum. And none of my pistols would go through the fake armor plate. So we're going to go with 45 Long Colt Magnum. It's about a 250 grain bullet, moving at approximately 1,550 feet per second. And if that does not do anything, then we will launch a 16 gauge slug at it out of a shotgun with a long barrel. Probably a 22-inch barrel on that thing, 22 or 24. And we'll see how that runs. Here we go. 45 Long Colt Magnum. I believe the bullet is an FTX. Hornady FTX. Wow. It fucking stopped it. But Jesus. Wow. Yeah. Ooh, it wanted to come out. The paint wrinkled off the back of it. It wanted to come out. But I'm going to say you'd probably have a broken rib from that. Possibly. Maybe not. Oh, 45 Colt did not go through it. That was a Colt Magnum. That was equivalent to a 44 Magnum. So that leaves us with the 16 gauge with the slug. Let's go see if the 16 gauge with the slug goes through it. Now, mind you, we're at about between 15 and 20 yards. Okay. 16 gauge slug. Let's see. Okay, here we go. What do you think? Knocked it off. All right, there we go. Wipe some of the water off it here. It right next to the 45 Colt. Ooh, it's starting to split there now. Right around in there. But it stopped the 16 gauge slug. I mean, mind you, it gave a nice bulge. That's for sure. So, I mean, and that was, almost in the same spot right next to it. There's a 45 Colt. There was a 16 gauge slug. So it stops. It's level 3A. I mean, it's taking dents. If you heat treated that plate, it probably wouldn't take dents so bad. But yeah, it stopped everything we threw at it. What else are we going to put towards it?
I don't know.
I'm thinking 30-30 Winchester, maybe? 30-30 Winchester. Here we go. Swiss cheese. And there's the conclusion. 30-30 Winchester punched a hole straight through it. Impressive for plates that are not meant to be armor. But yeah, it came right through. Didn't even have to try. So will it stop a 22? Yes. Will it stop a 9mm? Yes. Will it stop a 45 that was in here somewhere? Yes. Will it stop a 40 Smith & Wesson? Yes. Will it stop a 357 SIG? Barely, but yes. Will it stop a 45 Long Colt? Yes, but you might have some complications. And 16 gauge slug? It'll stop a 16 gauge slug. Will it stop a 30-30 Winchester? The answer is no.